Hey everybody, Sam Darley here, and we are almost at Super Bowl 51 between the Atlanta Falcons and New England Patriots. Media Day, Media Week, it's all going down here in Houston, Texas. Have you tried the NFL experience yet? Well, big news, at least Houston-wise, surrounding football at least, is Texans owner Bob McNair came out and said the Houston Texans are thinking about taking a quarterback with a draft pick this year. Well, that's pretty obvious because Tom Savage can't stay healthy and Brock Osweiler had statistically the worst season among quarterbacks in recent memory. So, yeah, I think the options... what are the options for the Texans? Well, number one, Tony Romo, if Dallas releases him, he'll be probably the number one option. Option number two, they could trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, who I actually thought the Texans would have drafted with a 33rd overall pick in the 2014 NFL draft, but they didn't. They took Xavier Su'a-Filo. And, well, they missed out on Derek Carr, they missed out on Garoppolo, they missed out on Bridgewater, who now may never play again. They missed out on... But, at the time, they needed a quarterback, and I think Bridgewater would have been perfect for them. So, where does that leave the Houston Texans in 2017? They've already started contract talks with A.J. Bouye, the cornerback, and wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. I keep telling people, the Texans are not going to let go of their best players. They're not. They're going to do everything they can to keep them. They're not going to just sit around and wait. They're going to do everything they can to make sure they get a new contract. So, and this doesn't surprise me. Andre Johnson's in town. All the legends are in town. Pretty much everybody in sports media is in Houston. Get ready for this big game. And one reporter had the gumption to ask if this game Sunday was a must-win. I'm guessing of all the questions they ask at Media Day, I'm guessing the reporters just start playing around and just ask silly questions. But that was probably the dumbest. Like, no, you're not going to try and win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's everything you work hard for in the off season. It's the whole reason you build a team. You build a team to win championships. You don't build a team to just win divisions and get knocked out in the first round. So, bit of a silly question, but I think again, I just think everybody at this point of the season is just like, okay, we're almost done with the season, so let's act up, let's be silly. Yeah. And that's what makes the Super Bowl a spectacle and not really a game, if you ask me. That's the problem. And, it's funny because Roger Goodell was asked about the commercials. At commercial breaks, he's talking about limiting from 5 commercials per timeout to just 4. Like, that makes much of a difference. I mean, just get rid of commercials altogether. I mean, there's no need for a commercial break after a kickoff, and then another commercial break after somebody calls a timeout. Let me give you the best example, okay? Let's say New England's playing Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh scores. After they score, they kick the PAT, and then there's a timeout, there's commercials. They come back, they kick the ball off. The kickoff is either down in the end zone for a touchback, and immediately there's another commercial break. And there's too many commercial breaks, and they're even talking about Thursday night football games, and Commissioner Goodell's not going to get rid of them. It's all a money grab, and I think if the NBA, and being serious about this, if the NBA was serious about competitive balance, they could probably destroy the NFL. They're more entertaining, better teams, less commercials. The games are, other than the West Coast games, the games are regularly are scheduled pretty nicely. You can watch the game, you can go to work all day, and then you come home and watch your team play, or in the playoffs, there are very rarely many afternoon games. I mean, there's a lot more afternoon games, I think, in the NFL playoffs than there are in the NFL playoffs. NBA playoffs, excuse me. But the NBA playoffs, it just depends on the seeding, much like the NFL. But, I don't. It's all a money grab, and I'm sorry, Goodell needs to quit it. It's ridiculous. There's no need for Thursday night football. I mean, it's just as the season progresses, it gets the product gets worse and worse and worse. It does. It gets worse, and the only way to improve the NFL product itself is to ditch Thursday night football. And I think the sooner you ditch it, the better the game will be. I really think, really think that if the NBA had parity in their game, the NFL would be close to extinction. The ultimate parity sport is baseball, but there's just too many games. I mean, nobody goes through 162 games playing hard. It's just not. No team does it. Okay. And that's the problem. Baseball is great in October, and now they're trying a money grab, trying to keep playing into November. The problem for them is their playoffs start when football's about to start. So it's like you're still playing baseball when the NFL season's like 3 or 4 games into the season. It's like, come on. You gotta end it. It's ridiculous. It's almost... Baseball players play 162 games a year. That's regular season. Plus 31 spring training games, that equals 193, plus playoffs, plus World Series, plus World Baseball Classic. There's not an off season. There's not an off season for baseball players. And so, I just think baseball and the NBA, they're not really trying to destroy the NFL. They're just trying to go along and try everything they can to get money, to get the money flow, to get people to be entertained and watch their sport. To me, the best thing about sports is competition, and the more competition you have, the better chances of people watching. That's why I think a lot of people still watch baseball, because there's a lot of competition there. There's not a lot of competition in the NBA. There's not. There's the Golden State Warriors, there's the Cleveland Cavaliers, there's the San Antonio Spurs, and then there's everybody else. So, in the NFL, you do have some competition, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, you're really not competing. You're just there. It's kind of like, you gotta have two teams play each other. I mean, obviously the Patriots had to beat the Texans. The Texans' defense was great enough to win that game. If they had a quarterback, it would have been a great game, or it would have been a demolition in favor of the Texans. But, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and the NFL is going to do whatever they think they can do to make more money and get more popularity. So, that's what Roger Goodell's job is make the game safer and essentially get more popularity for the league. Speaking of the NBA trade deadline is coming up. I think, if I recall, it's February 18th. Carmelo Anthony and Serge Ibaka are on the trade block. The Orlando Magic are going to command too much, I think, too many prospects for Serge, because they're rebuilding. I mean, they're never really a contender. I thought they would be at least a decent. I thought they'd have a decent shot in to make a playoff run make a playoff push. Push for like an 8th seed or something. But they didn't. The Knicks are terrible. They're looking to move on from Melo. I think realistically, you're talking about Serge probably going to end up staying, and probably said that with Melo. I mean, I don't see teams giving up the kind of packages that Knicks and the Magic will want for those two players. Now, one player who should definitely want to be traded at the deadline is Boogie Cousins. I mean, that guy has been... You watch Sacramento, I mean, it's just... You would understand why he consistently throws temper tantrums. I'd throw temper tantrums if I played for the Kings. They're terrible. And he deserves better. And I know a lot of teams who could use his services. I know LeBron's been whining about needing another playmaker, but how about another big that can do what Boogie can do and dominate the paint? I mean, he's a bit of a nutcase, but if you can get him to calm down essentially and harness that talent, I think you got a shot to essentially dominate the paint. And with LeBron, you got a really good shot of just dominating and breezing through the Eastern Conference playoffs and probably breezing to a championship. So Boogie should be on the block. Come on, Kings. You're not going anywhere. Give him a chance to win. He wants to win. He's a competitor. He's dedicated to winning. He played with Kentucky when they were winning, a winning organization in college basketball, a winning program, excuse me. And he's stuck with you guys. So it's not saying it's. I mean, come on. I wish the Kings would quit grasping at straws, thinking they can compete in the West. They're not. Although the Western Conference is pretty terrible at the bottom, so I mean they may have a shot at the 8th seed. It's not gonna really matter against Golden State. Speaking of the 8th seed, the Dallas Mavericks have been playing pretty well. I think they're gonna make a run for the 8th spot. I mean nobody's really took that 8th spot and ran off with it, so it's anybody's ball game. So everybody's gonna. I know everybody's talking about it. It's the Super Bowl. In a big Houston news, on the week of the Super Bowl, In-N-Out Burger is coming to Houston. So, I love food, I love sports. I'm excited to see the California version of Whataburger come to Texas. That's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be an all-out burger war between In-N-Out, Whataburger, Killen's Burgers. I mean, there's a bevy of burger places here in Houston, and I just think In-N-Out, is going to add to the list. And, the Houston Astros will have Shake Shack in center field at Minute Maid Park this year. So you'll get Torchy's Tacos, and you'll get Shake Shack, and now you get In-N-Out in Houston. In-N-Out Burger in Houston, and you get Whataburger, and like I said, Killen's, a local apparel and big restaurant tier, if you want to call them that, has one of the best barbecue chains in America, and I've never had his burgers, but I hear they're very good, and I done my to-do list, and now you got In-N-Out. So for you food lovers, as well as sport lovers, you'll love. I mean, Houston is the place for you. It really is. The Rockets, going back to the NBA trade deadline for a second, I think the Rockets need not necessarily be all in because I really don't know what kind of package a team like the Kings would want for Cousins. Probably a lot of draft picks. Understandable. He's Boogie Cousins, one of the best players in the league. But I think Houston should make a concerted effort to try and get a big. Try and get somebody that can shut off the paint, rebound, and block shots. And if they could add another wing defender and another playmaker, still really missing three things. But if they can add at least another big and another wing defender, I think they'll be fine. I think that'll put them over the top. But right now, I think they're still kind of. They're reeling from playing so many back-to-backs. They played a lot this year. They won't be playing so many back-to-backs in the second half of the season after the All-Star break, which should play in their favor. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Super Bowl 51. Atlanta and New England. We're almost there, y'all. Almost ready for kickoff. Who's ready for kickoff? I am. How about you? Are you ready? And then you've got the NBA trade deadline, and then you've got Major League Baseball spring training coming up. So a lot of things to be excited about. In-N-Out Burgers coming to Texas, Houston, and a lot to be excited about. Thank you for listening.